What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome inside a halftime edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rosvogen. As always, the Straight Up Saints podcast is brought to you by Scott McNair Injury Lawyers. The Saints trailing 7-3 in a half that is filled with some good and obviously some bad. So let's start off with the good, and then we'll get into the bad, and then I'll get into your thoughts, as we always do here on our halftime show. The good, Saints defense has been tremendous so far in this game. I mean, to have that goal line stand against the Bucs on a 17-play drive is truly phenomenal. The run defense really stood up at that moment. Rashad White's got 11 carries for 30 yards. So run defense has done their job against White. Sean Tucker having a pretty good game against the Saints, shocker, but they've done well there, getting a lot of pressure on Baker. He's only got 50 yards passing at the half. And in terms of getting pressure, they've been phenomenal. Saints got 3 sacks on Baker, and Chase Young had the strip sack to really get them back in this game because, man, it felt like this was going to teeter towards the Bucs being up double digits and this one maybe getting away and the Saints having to be one-dimensional to start the second half. Not so much the case now because of that Chase Young strip sack. And Chase Young, by the way, has been excellent the last 2 weeks, so he deserves his flowers. Defense has been great. Offense, I really want to start ranting to no end about this unit, but because the Saints are in this game and it is only 7-3, I don't want to act like this game is over because it clearly isn't. Saints are right in this game thanks to how well their defense has played. But the turnovers it's getting to the point where something has to change. And it's not even just the quarterback, but let's start with Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler has 6 turnovers in the last 6 quarters of football. He's got a turnover a quarter over the last 6 quarters of football. And that pick 6 today, you got Stoll wide open. Why the fuck Rattler has to wait an extra second to throw that football that gets intercepted? I don't know. And I love that some Saints fans were like, oh, it was a really athletic play by the defensive end. Yeah, it was an athletic play. Don't get me wrong. It was a great play by the defensive player. But if Rattler throws that ball on time, A, it's a first down, and B, you're not giving 7 points to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which, by the way, if I'm a defensive player on the Saints, how are you supposed to feel if you just stop them at the goal line? First and goal, second and goal, third and goal, fourth and goal, stonewalled at the 1. 17-play drive, 0 points. And then your quarterback throws a pick 6. Can't happen. And even the first drive for the Saints, Rattler was getting into a nice flow state, it felt like. And then he fumbles the football, which he did the exact same thing last week against the Bears with being careless. And it's not that I think Rattler's a bad quarterback, because I've said many times, I actually don't think he's a bad quarterback. But he's limited, extremely limited. That's why there's a lot of checkdowns. That's why he likes to play it safe. So when I start adding that limited play style with a shit ton of turnovers, it equals one of the worst quarterbacks you can get in the league. So he's got to limit those turnovers right now. It can't be happening. 6 in 2 games is absurd, and we still got a whole other half of football to play. And then Rashid Shaheed, man, what the fuck? What the absolute fuck? Two critical mistakes by Shaheed. The first one is the fumble, which the Saints are lucky that the refs ruled the Bucs down because of the whistle, because it should be 14-0, which would have been an abomination to be down 2 touchdowns when your defense doesn't give up any of those scores. And then the end of the half. Saints fans want to complain about no PI call. If Rashid Shaheed actually fights back towards the football, they're going to have to throw that flag. They'd have no choice. But he doesn't know how to fight for the ball in that spot. So, look, I like Shaheed. I think he's a good football player. But shit like this is why when people say, oh, I wouldn't trade him, the Saints could trade him. If they get a 3rd or 4th round pick, I would deal him. But first half thoughts, defense, outstanding. Like, legitimately outstanding. This is Brandon Staley's best half as the defensive coordinator of the Saints. Really aggressive with using with Justin Reed, really aggressive with Alontae Taylor. Love what I'm seeing out of those 2 guys. And obviously Chase Young has been phenomenal, like I mentioned before. DeMario's been pretty good in the run defense. Saints have done their job defensively. Offensively, 3 turnovers in the first half. Almost had the turnover with Alvin at the end of the half. We'll see if he's healthy for the 3rd quarter. But a lot of bad so far from the Saints offense. So let me get into your thoughts, guys. Been quite interesting, to say the least. Let's get into Michael here with the super chat. Thank you for the support. Says refs saved the Saints. Absolutely did. Absolutely did. By the way, Saints have actually gotten a lot of favorable calls this year, I must say. Of course, they're going to get favorable calls in a year where they're not going to be very good. Would have loved those favorable calls back in 2018 or 2019 or 2020. But all right, 2025, when it doesn't matter, that's when they get them. But yeah, look, I don't know how you blow the whistle there. Should be 14-0. In reality, Saints are very lucky. What should be 14-0 is now a 7-3 ball game. So game on. We'll see what happens in that 3rd quarter. Blair with a super chat. Thank you so much for the support. Blair says, biggest concern for me with Rattler is he's not learning from his mistakes. Same ones every game. Absolutely. Absolutely. It does feel that way. That pick six is egregious. And the problem with the pick six to me is how late he is on that throw. The play is to Stoll. You're rolling out to hit Stoll on that play. He is open. So what you got is there. And to just wait an extra second, almost like he's double clutching it, and then to throw it, bad shit's going to happen if you do that. And for Rattler, that bothers me. The fumble, to your point, Blair, not learning from your mistakes. Because, last week against the Bears, when he's kind of running, he's got the ball up in one hand, gets knocked out. All right, maybe this one's a little bit more secure, but you got a defender in front of your face. You got to imagine that someone's going to be coming up the rear there. And if you're Spencer Rattler, got to have better ball security. Doesn't in that spot, ends up being a fumble. So you're absolutely correct. X with the super chat saying, I was a Rattler defender early in the season because there were multiple reasons we were losing games, but today is all on him. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. And look, that's what I was saying about Spencer Rattler earlier this season. And it was the same thing that you just said. Was, look, man, he's not the reason they're losing games. Defense was playing poor. Blake Grupe was missing kicks left and right. There was so many issues. He was one of them, but he wasn't the issue. A game like today, the quarterback is the reason why you're losing this game. A game like last week, the quarterback is the reason why you lost that game. So it's starting to become the problem. And the question is, when the hell does it feel like Tyler Shuck's going to start if he's ready to start? The Saints will have the answer to that question. I obviously won't, but I'd like to see him at some point. Not today, obviously. He's not going to come in, but if Rattler continues to turn over the football, where's the excuse and the reason to keep him in? Because if the reason was he's careful with the football, he keeps you on time, all right, fine. You're not doing any of that right now, Trey says, why does it feel like Rattler's always 2 seconds behind game speed? It kind of does feel that way, man. Cliff says, fucking turnovers, can't handle this. Rattler needs to sit the second half out. Can't afford any more of his gifts. I don't disagree, but Xavier asked, any chance we move a QB at half? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to make a change. I could be wrong, though, but I doubt it. Cliff says, defense actually came to play the first half, and the offense coughs it up 3 times. Too bad Young couldn't run it back. Can't count on the offense or Grupe to score off the turnover. You're not wrong about that. You're not wrong about that. Thankfully, Grupe hit his kick, which, is a little shaky these days, but you're right. I was hoping Chase Young would take that to the house. Margaret says, put Hill in if they don't want Shuck. Rattler sucks. I don't necessarily disagree with that, although I don't know what Taysom's got in the tank at this point. But I can't see them going to Shuck for sure. Trey Gift says, Kamara's a liability as a pass blocker. Completely blew his assignment on that last drive. Look, I'm at this point with Alvin where, like, he's one of my all-time favorite Saints, and I don't want my image of Alvin to get tainted or for me to, like, have a, negative opinion of him in the final years of his career where he's clearly nearing the end. But man, those type of plays are frustrating as all hell. You just give your team no chance. And look, man, if I'm the Saints, maybe I up Devin Neal's usage in the second half. And I know he's not the shiftiest back in the world, but maybe I up the usage. Jerry G saying, not bad. Look, Jerry, they're in this game, man. They're in this game. Jack says, at least the Falcons lost to the Dolphins. Sure did. D23 says, the offense is an absolute embarrassment. At least the defense is trying. Defense has been phenomenal. And as Jerry says, at least the Saints are not letting the Bucs run away. They're not. Defense has been truly outstanding, guys. If I told you that the Saints defense was going to hold the Bucs to 81 yards in the first half, you'd be like, holy shit, no way. Literally impossible. And yet you're doing that and you're down 4, which kind of sucks. Could be down more. So I'll take that as a win. But the defense has legitimately been elite today. It's been fantastic. Either way we win, I guess. I mean, look, draft-wise, yeah, if they lose, they'll shoot up. But it's October 26th. I don't want to talk about mock drafts yet and where they'll end up. Jack says not going to defend Rattler, but that was an impressive play by the Bucs defender. It was, but look, man, he's got to get that ball out earlier. If you guys want, go back and watch that play. Stoll's open. He sees it. He waits one more second, and that's what ends up costing him, And again, it is a great play, but I don't even think the defender has a chance to make that play if he throws it earlier. Trey Gift says, wonder if we're playing clean enough for Baker. I don't know about you guys. I can't stand Baker Mayfield. I think if Baker Mayfield was the quarterback of the Saints, I'd love Baker Mayfield, but he's not, so I can't stand him. It's kind of like the C.J. Gardner-Johnson complex, except Baker's obviously a better player, where you don't mind when that guy's on your team. But, man, when he's on the other team, he's quite annoying. And look, Saints have played clean today. And you know what? I think second half could get really, really chippy if this game stays close. Japanese Hercules says, hey, look, our first half defense only gave up 7 points. Incredible. It's insane, right? Like, and even those 7 points, it's on the offense. This really should have been a shutout in the first half for the defense, and actually has been, to be quite honest. That dude, DC, says, a running back screen, please. Pressure in 2 seconds every play. Wouldn't mind it. I think we have to start to get a little bit more creative offensively right now. It seems like it's a lot of the same. A lot of throws over the middle to Jawan, get you about 8 yards, check down to Alvin. All right, sideline throw to Olave, great footwork there. Either Olave or Shaheed, they got to cook something up, man. There's got to be something. Alvin, I don't know. Like you talk about running back screen, I don't know if Alvin's going to be able to house one or even make a big play at this point. My confidence in him right now is kind of low. So we don't prepare for people stripping the ball at practice. What the F? Yeah, I mean, it feels that way, right? Feels that way. Robert says, weird-ass game. Saints are in, but let's be honest. Who trusts them to pull this one out? Defense balling, which is nice, but no complimentary ball from the offense. Yeah, not one bit. No complimentary ball at all from this offense. But yeah, defense is balling out, and at least that excites me. I gotta try and take the wins here. It's getting harder to defend Rattler. It sure is. Were we not running the ball pretty good? We should have kept running. I mean, statistically, yeah, run game was fine. I mean, Alvin's got 3 carries for 12 yards. Taysom had 1 okay carry. It was like 3 or 4 yard carry. But, the Saints offense, I really thought this was going to be a team that was going to be able to run the ball well this year. It's not the case. I also think it's also a lack of talent at the running back position right now, or lack of juice, I should say. No Kendra Miller for the rest of the season sucks. Obviously, not having Eric McCoy is brutal for the rest of the season. But, yeah, it's pretty frustrating. Pretty frustrating right now. The situation that they're in with this run game. It's non-existent. Where the hell is Devin Neal? I mean, he got in for a couple of receptions, but it's those check downs where it's like 3rd and long, you dump it off to him behind the line of scrimmage, or maybe he makes one man miss and you get like a 3-yard gain. You're not getting anything there. Chase has been whooping Wirf's ass all game. Dude, I'm telling you, Chase Young the last 2 games has looked worth every penny of that contract, which excites me because like these are the wins you got to take in the season, right? It is a rough season for this team, and you gotta take the good with the bad. Brian says after the bye week, you think Shuck starts at this rate? Yeah, if he's ready, and if he's not ready, then that is quite freaking brutal. If he's not ready by then, Rattler is almost always late. He's a see it, throw it guy. I do agree with that. He does not anticipate where the guy will be and throwing you into the open space. That's not going to happen with Spencer Rattler. Havsi 735 says Rattler has regressed from the past few weeks. He has, for sure. Don't deny that. Man of Steel, Taysom Hill. Ed says I'm starting to think Alvin's checking out. I don't know, man. I thought last week he looked checked out. This week I don't think he's looked checked out. I really think pass protection wise, it's going to be brutal for him, and we'll see how he looks in the second half because he was hobbled at the end of that second quarter. Blue J44 says, I got offered tickets for today's game. I told him with my health condition, it was a bad idea. First off, man, hope you're feeling a little bit better. And second, yeah, I don't think if you're not feeling great, watching the Saints is not going to help. Why is Neal not getting reps? I don't know. I don't know. I also think Devin Neal lacks explosiveness, to be quite honest. But, I would like to see him get more reps. Absolutely. I've been a big proponent of like, let the rookies play. Let the rookies play and figure it out and go from there. Second half is just about to start with the kickoff, so I'll get maybe 1 or 2 more comments, and we'll go from there. If we had an offense, we'd be up 3 or 4 scores with the way the defense is playing, for sure. For sure. The Saints beating the Saints? Yes, they absolutely are beating themselves up with those 3 turnovers in the first half. So second half is underway, guys. We're going to come back after this one is over to do our post-game live stream. Obviously, we're going to stay in here much longer and dissect everything that happened. Hopefully, we're talking about a Saints upset win over the Bucs. In order for that to happen, offense got to stop turning over the football. So we'll be back and come through to Boot Crew Media's YouTube channel to get more from the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.